think he was waiting on something, Goose. Oh, now we are.
Guys ready?
Let's call the Board of Public Works and Capital Assets of November 11th to order. Roll call.
Gail is here.
Marshall here.
Guzikowski here.
Zarnecki here.
Seifert here.
Segali here.
Approval of minutes from 10/14/25. Any changes or corrections?
Marshall will move to approve the minutes of October 14th, 2025.
Gail, second.
Roll call.
Gail's aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Alrighty. Number 4. Review common council actions related to public works and capital assets. Is that you, Fran? Okay. Thank you. Number 5, consider a motion to approve a purchase of a service body crane truck from McGrath Chevrolet for the price of $139,950. Okay.
Yeah, that's not good for OSHA, so.
Strikes me as a very handy piece of equipment.
For sure.
You, Mike, is this thing rigged already with the cabinets and stuff for tools, or you guys aftermarket stuff? Oh, I can't see that much from that. I imagine like a welder's rig. Oh, there's, I didn't.
Any other comments or questions?
Kurt, you got one of these?
Yes, we do.
Well, if Kurt has one, we need one too.
Yeah, Kurt's got one. We gotta have one.
A toy.
Boys and their toys. It works, right? Bob?
One question.
Good question.
Do we have a motion for number 5?
You'll move to approve the purchase of a service body crane truck from McGrath Chevrolet for the price of $139,950.
Segali seconds.
A roll call.
Gail's aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Segali aye.
Ready.
Mike, sorry, do you know, DPW have anything similar to this?
They don't. Not like this, they don't.
Okay.
Alrighty, number 6, consider a motion to approve utility vouchers.
The only thing I'd note on this, there really isn't anything special, is that it's really, really low, the total amount compared to what we normally have. And that's because the MMSD item was in our lower category. We Energies was just off cycle, so we didn't have the big bill from them. So yeah, that's really the only thing I noticed.
Is there a motion?
Marshall will move to approve Marshall will move to approve the utility vouchers in the amount of $587,002.02.
Warnke will second.
A roll call.
Mills, aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Warnke, aye.
Kelly, aye.
Gotta get the frame mic.
So, number 6, consider a motion, 7, consider a motion to approve the 2026 capital budget for Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility.
So this capital budget for 2026 is laid out in a couple of parts. I'll go through those parts quickly, and then we can go through the summary of the projects and talk about whatever you'd like. I don't intend to get into the detailed sheets on the individual items. We absolutely can, but they're there for more information. We do have a few pictures and things like that. So the very top sheet is an overall summary of the budget itself that shows new projects for 2026, broken up by distribution, treatment plan, and then projects. The next couple of sheets are those individual groups, what make up those, and a little brief description of each one of the projects. The very second last of this section is the projects in progress from the previous budgets. We can look and see how many projects are still out there and what we have to complete on those. We can certainly talk about those. The last sheet before the detail is the cash flow statement. So how are we going to pay for all these projects if they get approved as they are? And we can absolutely go through that when we get there as well. So I'll start with the second sheet going into distribution. If you want, I'll just go through and give a brief description of each one of the projects. If you have any questions, give me a holler. That's probably a good way to do it. Distribution, the additional sewer camera and transporter. So when we bought our sewer camera truck, we only bought it with one sewer camera, and the transporter is the tractor that it rides on. We only bought that with one. We wanted to see how that truck was going to work out. We have the truck. We're happy with it now. Our previous truck, we have 3 cameras. So part of that is when a camera goes in for repair, you don't want to be shut down completely. Additionally, the second tractor can be used for larger pipe. It can be set up for larger pipe. So we can have a camera set up for small pipe and a camera set up for large pipe. That's what that item is at $60,000. The next item is a high volume air compressor. That's simply replacing an air compressor that we have now that's 25 years old. So it's just a replacement item. Hydrant refinishing. What we're going to do here is we're going to hire a contractor to sandblast our hydrants primarily on the main roads where they get so much salt intrusion to them and they rust out quite quickly. We'll have those sandblasted. We actually have $25,000 in the budget from 2025 that we are not able to get a contractor. We're going to combine this with that and get a bigger project going out there. We've got a couple of contractors that are seemingly interested, although we couldn't get them to perform the work last time. Just something, we've tried sandblasting the hydrants ourselves. From a safety perspective, it really doesn't work. We don't have the equipment. We're not set up to do that kind of work. We paint hydrants, scrape them and paint them and that sort of thing. That just doesn't work on the long, big highway roads where they get so much salt. It just doesn't work all that well. So the sandblasting, the ones we have had done, we've been very happy with them and they seem to last. So this is just another inclusion there. I would expect this not to be an annual cost, but at least once every 2 years, I would expect we'd be doing this kind of work because those main roads just don't.
Is this, so for the refinishing this time, is it just a proposed section? Like it's just Howell or it's just?
So we haven't identified that yet, but we'll go down sort of the main roads, Highway 32, Howell, 13th Street, and look to see which ones are the worst there. Yeah.
Okay.
The next item is the fixed network reading apparatus. What we want to do is install 4 towers, some of the communications will be on our existing water towers. We're converting our meter reading over to fixed network so that it can all be done effectively via a computer. So Kathy Loranth can press, whatever button she does, and she'll be able to get the reads automatically. We won't have to go out and read any longer. That allows us to do it quicker than we can do it now. We spend 6 days reading all of our meters now. That would nearly eliminate that. It won't eliminate all of it. But it allows us to get a whole lot more detail on the meters that we are reading. So we can now start to identify some district areas that we can perform metering operations on those. We can identify what areas of the community are using more water or less water. That'll help us determine whether we have leaks. So if we see water going into a particular area, say high zone, and we can pull out all of our meter information on a more accurate level, then we can determine whether we think we have a leak in that area or not and start doing a little bit more intensive searching on that.
This doesn't require us to change anything on the meters themselves.
Well, yes, it does.
Okay.
So part of this is leading up to evaluating the meters that we use and the brand that we use to see if we shouldn't be switching. We have looked at some, and I don't really want to mention names because we haven't gone through that yet. We're gonna call in all the meter manufacturers, do a dog and pony show for us, let us know what they have, what they don't, what their support is, what the cost of the meters is. But one of the popular ones that's being used out now is 2/3 of the cost of the meters that we're paying for now. In addition, Badger Meter, who we have now, the support stinks. It's not very good from that company. We're not getting responses. And the biggest point, though, is Badger doesn't support the drive-by reading that we do now. They're pushing us to cellular endpoints. So they want every meter to communicate through the cellular network and then report back to us. The problem is it's $1 per month per meter. We have 9,000 meters, so we don't want to pay that just for the pleasure of having cellular, which to me I think can be problematic as well. So fixed network is another option that's out there. Badger doesn't support that. They don't do that any longer. So other brands do. That's something we want to look at. So really the fixed network is kind of getting our foot in the door. It's something we would need network-wise if we go to some different meter. So we're putting this in the budget now. We're not saying spend it. We're saying let's reserve this so that when we do our meter evaluation, if it turns out another company it makes sense for us, then we'll have this money to do the fixed network side of it.
Okay, so at this point, the fixed network will not interface with the current meters.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
That's a system-wide swap at some point.
Yes. Yes.
Gradually or all at once, or
Well,
you have manpower to do a lot of
yes and no, yeah. So I would say under 5 years is what you want to do this transition in, but that's a tremendous amount of meters every year. Right now we do about 500 a year. We'd be doing, so we have to get that 10,000 done or 9,000 done within 5 years.
I think I was around.
Yeah. It'll be painful.
Because you've got people who don't let you in the house.
Right. Which we've been doing actually really good on. We've jumping off.
I did see one thing in here.
Yeah, when we have some problems, we're now moving to, we send them letters, but we're moving to shut-off notices. We used to just charge $25 a month or a quarter if they didn't let us in and change the meter or what have you. Now we're going to shut-off notices, and that's worked out really well.
I'm not up on networks. So the fixed network, is that legacy technology, brand new technology?
Brand new, yeah. It's been used for a long time, but it's still developed, still being used today. So we'll put radios on our water towers and a couple other locations. We're not exactly sure where that, and those will communicate to the individual.
Could you, the system we have now, this strikes me as manufacturers love to have planned obsolescence.
Right.
That's what they lifespan, 10 years on a meter, then they force you to replace them?
Oh, no, we have to replace meters once every 20 years.
They have to?
We have to, yes, according to the Public Service Commission. And we do, but we're using the same meter style, same meter technology. I mean, none of that has changed. So we can just simply swap out as the years go on, as those 20 years go on, we can simply swap out meters and we're still doing fine. We did do a head replacement on a number of meters, a sample size of meters, not the whole system, a few years ago, and maybe 10, 15 years ago, we replaced all of the heads because Badger didn't support those heads any longer. So we did have to change all those out. Yes, I think so.
Fairfield's doing like thousands.
Yeah.
So
Those
do
ahead
we
of
have an
those.
anticipated cost of the meter? No, because you haven't had that presentation
Well,
yet.
it'll actually be, so on the next item down, which is the meter replacement,
Oh.
we budget, call it 160,000 or so every year typically for our residential meters. It'll actually be less if we went with this company that we've been talking with. It'll be a bit less because their meters are a bunch cheaper. So,
Okay, okay, so that being said also, so this would be a phased in, so would you be running two types of meter technology for a couple years?
yes.
Okay.
Question?
Kurt, what do you use? Sorry, since we have Kurt.
So what Mike is evaluating, we're actually doing right now. So the fixed network and cellular are really the two overlying kind of platforms that people are going with. They both bring pros and cons. The fixed network has a higher upfront cost, but if you're looking at the life cycle of this technology, it's actually cheaper because if you go a cellular, it's per unit per month and it adds up pretty quickly. So I think if you have the financial means to go to a fixed network, it's the most cost-effective way of doing it. And that technology's come a long way. Each vendor has their pros and cons, like Mike's finding out, and we are too. I'm embarrassed to say we're very antiquated, and that's why we're looking at AMR and AMI, what Oak Creek already has, but it's a large investment. That's why it's always been a hard pill to swallow, and the benefits are your customers have more readily available data that they can make informed decisions on. And utility can as well about leaks and water usage throughout your system.
Yeah, and that's a great point on water usage. One of the argument points that we've had in rate cases is how do we peak compared to how Franklin peaks? And if we always say we sort of peak the same because we're sort of like Franklin. We have really good data on what water goes to Franklin. We don't have good data on what water goes to our own customers. Read the meter once every 3 months, right? So we don't know what happens in between. How do they peak? So that's been a point of contention in that Franklin in the past has argued that, well, no, we peak differently than than Oak Creek does. So therefore costs should shift more towards Oak Creek. It's all about cost. This type of meter will allow us to capture that peaking for the residential class, commercial class, industrial class, and we can have numbers. This is how Oak Creek peaks, and these are how costs ought to be assigned. So it has another benefit to it as well.
When Franklin's comparing themselves to us, they're doing this on their own, correct? Because we just sell them wholesale water, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So we're really just in this looking at the Oak Creek infrastructure.
Yes. Okay, next item down is the meters themselves. So we do budget, I think I said about 160,000 or so. This one is higher because we do replace the 1.5 and 2 inch meters, larger meters, on the schedule that we're required to do, but we have not put that traditionally in the budget. I don't know why. So we chose to put that in the budget. So we're doing residential meters and these 1.5 and 2 inch meters. That comes with $262,000. It's what we normally spend on meters. The replacement of the 2 pickup trucks is just on our normal schedule. We do 1 or 2 pickup trucks a year that we're replacing. That we're doing that again this time. The root control treatment for sanitary sewers. So we hire a contractor, and we also do some root control ourselves. This just adds to that. We primarily do the larger lines where we have root intrusion and things like that. And we can continue to cut those roots, but nothing stops them from growing in there, like the root control chemicals. That's what that item is. We do have money left over from this year that will add to that for next year's project as well.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Curiosity. Are you guys typically treating the same pipe every year?
Not every year, once every couple of years, once every 5 years. Yeah, we'll go back and check them, and whenever they need it again,
And
we'll
then
add
are
them
you
again.
doing with some device to cut the dead stuff out? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, we have a root cutter, and we'll cut them out. And that's great, but it doesn't stop them from growing in there. Whereas the root control does tend to put that off for a much longer period of time.
This stuff is just,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Wherever there's nutrients, the tree roots will grow.
I love sewage.
Absolutely. It's true. Standby replacement generator. So the generator we have now is 1971. It starts sometimes it doesn't start at all. We bought a new generator a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Diesel powered, super quiet, runs forever. We can put it out at a lift station. In the past, we'd always have to have someone sitting there to fill the old generator up full of gasoline or quit or what have you. This, you can leave it sit out there, and you hardly even know it's running, and it'll run forever. It's been fantastic. So what we want to do is then go ahead and replace that 1971 generator with a second generator. The reason why we have two is we have two lift stations. Our primary purpose is when we get those storms to make sure they stay. The dewatering trash pumps, similar type flavor. We have a 4 and a 6 inch pump. The 4 inch pump is 1969. The 6 inch pump is 1979. Primary purpose of the 6 inch pump is to go to lift stations if there's a pump problem. So we can bypass pump out of those lift stations. We don't use that pump very often at all. But when you need it, you gotta have it, and it's always during a storm. So we've had this one for a long time. It's not proven to be very reliable any longer, so we're looking to replace that. That's the expensive pump. The 4 inch, we're actually converting or changing that a little bit. We're getting rid of the gas-powered pump that we have there, and we're gonna use an electric-powered pump. We have our wonderful generator. We have other generators on our brake trailer and that we can power this pump off of to keep up with our water main break dewatering that we're doing during those operations. So that is it for the distribution side. If we move on to treatment plant, the first item is relining of the chlorine bulk tanks. Those are fiber reinforced plastic, and they generally last about 10 years, and then the chlorine starts eating away at them, and they start to deteriorate. The first set of tanks we had lasted about 10 years, and they needed to be replaced. We looked at lining the tanks here a couple of years ago, and our tanks were looked at, and they were deemed to be, you're good to go. You might consider lining or replacing in the future, but you're still looking pretty good. Well, now we're starting to see some flaking of the tanks, and that they need to be addressed. First notion is because they're more than 10 years old, go ahead and replace them. Structurally, they're in fine shape, they're just starting to deteriorate. So we believe this lining, while it's not cheap, will give us another 10 years of life. 5 to 10 years anyhow, but 10 years is what we're hoping for on the relining. Simple operation, should be less invasive. Replacing the tanks, we have to pull a skylight out, and what I would call an old brittle skylight, that has to come out. You replace the tank with a crane, put a new one in, put the skylight back in, and hope it doesn't leak. This seems like a much better approach to, can we get a few more years out of it?
What's the capital cost of that, Mike, the full system?
Oh, shoot. That's a great question. I know Mike had it in there. It was a lot.
I remember seeing this.
I mean, when we built it, it made all the sense in the world. But now a little tougher. Replacing the new tanks is $160,000.
So $40,000.
With two tanks, so $160,000 for the two tanks, or $40,000. Feels worth the effort.
Does this, the 40,000 is both tanks? Yes.
Yes.
Just clarifying.
Yep.
That's, yeah, I mean, it seems like a decent bet. Risk-wise, that's accepted practice?
It is accepted practice. The risk, I think, is that the coating doesn't take or doesn't last, and we may be looking at replacing them at some point in the future.
We don't do this ourselves, right?
No.
That seems
No,
very
this-
dangerous.
Yep. This is hired out. The next item is fountain repair. There were a few pictures of that. The fountain, the brick wall around the fountain, or what creates the fountain tub in the front, is original to the building, 1972. The brick is falling apart. The mortar is falling apart. On the areas where the water really hits it from the fountain itself has really deteriorated the mortar. The north and south sides, the facing is coming off of the brick itself. So we did look at a number of options for replacing or repairing that, and I think it was $8,000 to do sort of a partial repair, a little bit of the east and west side where the water hits it mostly, or for $12,000, you could just replace all of it. We have the brick, we just need someone to come in and take what we have out and put new brick in. It seems like a pretty simple repair to dress it up and make it look nice. The next item is a replacement lawnmower. We have two lawnmowers down there at the plant, a 72-inch and a 60-inch. The 72-inch is the one we're looking to replace. 20 years old. They have had quite a few problems with getting parts and keeping it running. It's a good time to replace it anyhow. Mike also wants to downsize it from 72-inch to 60-inch. With the new project going in, we're going to have less grass to mow. We don't have big areas that we need to worry about, so 60-inch seems to be more maneuverable and work out better for us. That's what that is. And then he selected sort of a mid-grade commercial lawnmower. We don't want a residential style, just won't last well. Large sump pump replacement is crazy to me. That price is nuts. But the large sump pump, so in the bottom of the treatment plant, we've got two sump pumps that pump out the water that gets around our chlorine contact tank and all of the water that we use for our instruments in that. When you walk through the plant, you can hear water constantly trickling down into that void underneath the floor. This 3-inch pump is a large pump intended to get high volume of water out there. It's been in there for quite a long time. I know we've repaired it a couple of times. It's just at its end of life. So this is the cost to go ahead and replace that. The lab titrator, so we use that when we're measuring free chlorine and total chlorine. And while we have instruments in the wall, we have to verify those instruments are accurate with the lab equipment. That's what this is done for us. We have a 2009 and a 2014. We're replacing the 2009 now. We just got a tremendous amount of use. And I would expect next year, year after, we'll probably replace the 2014 as well. We will shift their duty. The total chlorine gets used much less than the free chlorine titrator. It's just how we operate. So we'll switch those around and put the newest one on the heaviest use. But the other one, I think, is going to need to get replaced as well. $87. So that is treatment plant. And then we'll move on to capital projects. So our sewer rehabilitation project, that's the same thing we've been doing for the last maybe 6-7 years now. We go out and have our sewer inventoried. We look at the videos from them. We prioritize sewer work that needs to be done. Can we line? Can we do spot repair? Do we need full manhole-to-manhole replacement? This project focuses primarily on those spot repair jobs or the lining jobs, that sort of thing. We have talked about cutting out the intruding laterals. So in the old days, laterals would come right into the main and protrude into the main, and that makes it difficult for us to get our camera and our cutters and things by, so we'd like to trim those out. That's what part of this project does as well. In the past, we've been about $750,000 a year. Now we're starting to come to a point where we've gotten most of the bad areas of the main done. We don't have a whole lot of bad areas left. So we're starting to see this project dwindle a little bit. I would expect at some point it'll go to an every other year kind of a thing. Something we will have to continue to keep up on. We just don't have that volume of repairs.
Problem to have.
It is, yes it is. East Marquette Avenue and water relay, I know there was a map included in the packet as well, so there's 1,400 feet of 6 and 8 inch pipe, 6-inch pipe that we're replacing with 8-inch pipe. It's got a very high price tag on it, but we've had quite a few breaks. This is one of the worst areas that we have now prioritization-wise. We always look at total breaks, but then we look at current breaks. How many have we had in the last 5 or 10 years? That's what kind of tells, for me, what kind of tells the story on mains that need to be replaced. You had a lot of breaks on it 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and we have quite a few of those mains, and then they went quiet. You can attribute that to us putting anodes in and other things that are being done, but that doesn't, to me, contribute as much to a prioritizing.
Like I was looking at that map last night because I was thinking to myself, damn, that's expensive. But
That is.
this map shows that line serves that neighborhood, or is this is there alternate lines that help serve the various outlier streets?
Everything's networked together, so you take this line out of service as an example, and everyone's still going to get fed. minus the people that are directly served off that line. I don't know if that helps or not. Everything is looped. So yes, it does feed them, but so do other mains.
Okay, I mean, so there is a, initially it didn't look like it served actually a lot of people, but from a neighborhood.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, quite a bit. This will run down and tie into the Moncourt main. Yeah, it's a good loop for us for sure.
What's the anticipated timeframe of the project?
So
Just roughly.
if approved, we would look to construct this next year, probably midsummer. By the time we do the engineering.
Are you gonna be in the streets or terrace with that, or?
Don't really know yet until we get into it, but I'm guessing we're gonna be in the street. There's not a lot. Street trees and things like that along the sides, there's not a lot of room out there.
So the, city's road project, is that a road that's envisioned to have work in the
It is,
future?
yes, we actually work with the city to kind of do them at the same time. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, this is one where we're working together with them to try
Okay.
and make it happen. In fact, we just talked, did we kind of push the main or was the city pushing the road? I'm not sure which way they came together. They did come together.
I remember the concept, I don't remember. But, expense-wise, do you have a feel for why?
But the mains are running now. Yeah, I mean, we're hoping we'll get better prices. Yeah, stuff's expensive. Okay, the next item down is the risk and resiliency plan. This is something that we have to do once every 5 years. It's an EPA requirement. We do first the risk and resiliency, and then we do follow up 6 months later with the emergency response plan, which is supposed to be informed by the risk and resiliency plan. It's a fairly easy update for us since it's already been done once. So we just have to update it. Go ahead and do it. The risk and resiliency actually is due at the end of the year here, so we're already working on that. This is the cost to finish out that piece. Sanitary system map upgrade. This is kind of a unique one. We've done sanitary system master planning. That's all done and that's great, but the maps that we use, if somebody wants to develop a piece of vacant property, we'll open up that map and see where is that property served from, how large does that main need to be, or if we're putting in new main someplace, how big does that main need to be to serve its tributary area. Those maps haven't been updated since the mid-'80s. Yeah, since the mid-'80s. What happened in 2001 is they computerized our Mylar maps that we have. So we reference it hasn't been updated since 2001. They haven't been touched since 2001. And all that was taking the old 60s and 70s development that they did and turning that into a computerized map in 2001. So we have that. We've done our new master plan. We have more information through that, but we want to go back and do all the undeveloped areas, those basins, and see what do we contribute now. We've got a lot of zoning changes that we've had over the years. We've certainly identified more environmental areas that we can't develop. So let's inform all of that into these maps. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, how does this property get served with sewer? We can show them right away. That's really what this is. The underground facilities project really needs no introduction. We're just simply adding more money to that project to, so that we can take out less loan or have less impact of the loan.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Remind me, is this the first year we've done this?
No, we have $27 million stored for this
Already
project.
allocated?
Yes.
We've been doing, I don't remember, we've been doing this 3 million or more or less every year?
No, it's definitely a varied amount. We've been doing this since 2016. So 16 and 17 we put some money in. I think we took a break on 18. We put some in 19. So over the years, when we can, we put some more in. We put up to $5 million in and down to $1 million. Yeah. Okay, the next one is various dead end. So we did a search. Actually, this started with the Sharon Drive water main loop that we put in. We identified a number of homes that did not have a hydrant downstream of them, so we couldn't flush out that line in front of those homes. So we did a search of the whole system and came up with these 8 locations that are similarly situated. We have customers that we can't flush beyond their connection point. So this is an attempt to go ahead and correct those, and in most cases, it's simply adding a hydrant to the end of the line. That's really all we're doing with this. So that's the cost of, sadly, that's the cost of replacing hydrants.
The, you're adding another, are you imposing on property there at that point? Is that, the discharge is going into public land, or where is this typically done?
So typically on their end of temporary cul-de-sacs, I would say typically, not all the time, but we'll.
Is there storm sewer this water's flowing to then, or what?
Not always, no.
Okay.
Sometimes it'll be in ditches, sometimes it'll go down the road. If there's a concrete road there, it'll go down a concrete road to the storm sewer, yeah.
These are done manually then too?
Yes, the flushing?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yes, but we've got 4 automatic flushers, and we're building those in-house. We're building more of those. So some of these could rise to the level of having an automatic flusher.
I always wondered about, because there was a neighborhood in Milwaukee where I helped a lady with her house, and there was an automatic flusher on one of those hydrants. I was wondering why we didn't have those.
Yeah, we do have a few out in areas that are bad. Part of my problem with it, I love the program and it works really well. You can't use it year round. So that's not really a permanent solution. If it's more of a summertime problem with warmer water or whatever, great. That's a great opportunity to do that. But you're not doing anything in the winter, so you're not really helping.
I do have a question for you. This reminds me, though, only because I ride by it. Why are we regularly running water out of a hydrant on the corner of Ryan and Howell?
Yeah. Oh,
Right by the driveway, there's a hydrant, and we're regularly running water into Howell, which is not safe in my opinion. Ryan Road.
that's one of our worst locations in the city now that we've sort of fixed Ridgeview. That line comes across Ryan Road and then turns and goes a little bit down, or comes across Howell Avenue rather, and goes a little bit down Ryan Road. The only people that are on it are that gas station, and they have we can't retain chlorine residual in that hydrant. So we're flushing it to keep that water fresh through there. We actually are thinking about, I wouldn't say that we've got a plan just yet, but we're thinking about moving the lateral for that gas station and have it come across. It either has to go across Howell or it has to go across Ryan Road, one of the two, to catch a main. So we're looking at doing that to eliminate our need to flush that hydrant.
Especially as it's running fresh water on the road. People are flying by that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's trying to keep that water clean.
You're not doing it in the winter there either, then. So what are
No.
they just?
We'll do it any chance we can, but yeah. We have
I ride by it every day.
a number of hydrants like that. So we have
That's the problem.
once every 2 weeks. We have weekly hydrants. We have quarterly hydrants. We have
What? Yeah, wet and bike tires don't put together.
The last item is water quality monitors. So we're looking to install. This was really sort of inspired by the water master plan that we had done. They recommended it in there as well. But we're looking for water quality parameters throughout the system. Right now, we can get those at the treatment plant. That's a little bit of information from our pump stations, but that's about it. So we're looking to deploy these water quality monitors. I'm sure you had a number in here someplace. Apologize, I don't know how many there are. There are maybe 4 or 5 of them that we're looking to put in initially. That'll capture some of that water quality, so we can see changing conditions. We can start documenting what's going on in the distribution system a little bit better. So that was it. The next page in the grouping is the projects in progress. And I'm not going to go through each one, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have on any of those projects. I would say there's a significant portion of these projects that will be closed out shortly, closed out soon. Camera truck's an example. We just got that delivered a bit ago. So that will be, the Abendschein water main loop project, the Sharon loop project, those just have small amounts of money that's needed to close those contracts out. There's a lot of this actually will fall off. With that, I can go through the cash flow sheet. What we do is it's a really simplified version, but it does help us out quite a bit. So we take the operating income that was projected in the budget, the operating budget that we passed last month. That's at, I'll just go down water for the moment. That's at 2.3 million. Then we have depreciation that's calculated in the budget that we're collecting on the assets that we have. That's 2.8 million. Those two numbers together are what primarily fund our capital improvement program, both debt service and what we just talked about, all the projects and purchases we just talked about. So that's at 5.2 million. The acquisition and construction, those are carried over projects. That's at projects in progress total of $28 million. The next line down is the new projects that we just went through all the projects, and generator and that sort of thing. That's at $5 million. Special assessment proceeds are what we collect on previously special assessed projects. People pay over time. That's that income. Interfund loan, there was a loan from from sewer to water. This is the repayment of that loan back to sewer, principal and interest on that. And then our typical debt service, which we only have debt on the water side, but typical debt service there. So it gives you intermediate total there. Then we have the interest income that we receive on our investments. And then we start going down on what's in our checking account. What's in the LGIP is the local government investment pool. It's effectively a savings account. So what's in those numbers? Then we have some restricted cash that's restricted by our bond requirements. Coming down, we always add in the debt, because this cash flow is intended to represent December 31st of 2025, but we know that there's a large debt payment coming up that hasn't been recorded in any of these previous numbers. So we add that in here as well, the debt service, and then that interfund loan new number as well. So it's kind of projecting what's going to happen by December 31st. Then we come down with the balance to maintain. That is 6 months worth of expenses that we just keep off on the side in case anything catastrophic happens. And then lastly, so then that's just a summation of everything. So on the water side, the uncommitted portion is $235,000. On the water side, almost 5.5 million.
Oh, on the sewer side.
I'm sorry, I'm sewer side, yes, sorry. So that's all I really have on the capital budget.
Great information. Don't need to make any type of motion on that, right?
Who, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Marshall will move to approve the 2026 capital budget for the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility.
Hill will second.
Roll call.
Gill, aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Zarnecki, aye.
Galli, aye.
Number 8, informational, administrative, and operation.
So only a couple of few things there on the administrative reports. You can really see the highlight in the industrial category of how far we're down compared to last year and really compared to the 5-year average. That's primarily due to the power plant and the laundry company are down significantly. Yep, are down significantly. They make up most of that loss, and we know that We Energies was the most. It was the significant portion. So out of the 172,000, there are 144 of it. That's going to kind of filter itself out. They're back to what I would call a bit more normal. They're a little less than normal, but a bit more normal for them. So we know that they had a big leak and they were diverting water somehow, some way. We know that happened over about a year and a half, so everything went up. Now that's reflected as, well, what happened last year? Well, that looks like normal. That wasn't normal. Overall, yeah, sales are down. Not good. Okay. Underground facilities project, wanted to highlight that we got a letter from the PSC asking for additional information. That information has gone into the PSC. One of the items that they asked for, or one item that really was twofold that they asked for, is the calculations used to determine the water demand that Caledonia gave us and that Franklin gave us. So they both gave us information as to how do we size our project, but there weren't good calculations as to how those groups came up with that number. PSC said, hey, how'd you come up with the number? So we got that information from them, submitted that all back in, and now we're sitting and waiting. I think lastly is this intake cleaning that I wanted to show you a few pictures of. So we had, so this, hopefully you can see it on your screens there. This is the overall, you can see up in the upper left-hand corner is the raw water pump station. The contractor did is he installed these 6 pumps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Large pumps, you can see some people standing there, so these are significant sized pumps. The suction lines are what go out into the lake. The discharge lines are sort of those silver pipes that go out to a header out in the middle of our driveway. What he does is he takes that volume of water, forces it through our intake back out into the lake, and that scours anything that's in the intake out. That's what the intention is. This is just another picture for you coming out of the pumps. It goes into a central header that goes into our building. Kind of plywood up the opening there and run that pipe in. That's a 24-inch pipe that's going into the building. It then comes down into our shore well. That's an existing hatch into our shore well. They ran that pipe down there and bolted it directly to our intake pipe. So that water is flushing directly to that pipe. Now I mentioned a couple times before, we know we have a leak on that old intake, and this kind of represents that. You can see kind of the plume of dirt. It's all drifting off, in this case, to the east. When we started to pump, when we were running the pumps at their idle, we could see this coming out of here. We knew there was a leak. We knew pretty much where it was, but we didn't know what the issue was. And I apologize, I don't have a good picture of that. But when they connected, so this would have been in the 1970s, when they connected the 1914 cast iron pipe with their new concrete pipe, they had a transition piece in between of some form of cast iron. We're not exactly sure. And they put 2 metal seals on the side with rubber O-rings. Those O-rings have blown inward, have blown out. You can see them on the dive video. You can see them flapping, and you can see water coming out of this intake as it pressurized with their pumps. So what we did on a temporary measure, we went in there and pounded cedar shakes in there to seal up the gap, allow that cedar to swell up and create a seal, and then we put concrete around the outside of it to try and hold it in place. For us, it's quasi-permanent. It will function just fine. I would never consider it permanent. I think what needs to happen is that small section, it's only about 2.5 feet, needs to come out, put in new coupling. That's not going to be exactly cheap because you're working underwater doing this, but that's what would need to happen in the future. We don't have a plan at the moment.
How far offshore is that?
About 160 feet.
How deep is it at that location, roughly?
The diver said 9 feet.
That's it?
It seemed like it was deeper than that, but yeah, the diver said 9 feet. So that's something to look at in the future of doing something with if we choose to continue.
Is that the only thing you found, Mike?
Yeah, that's the only thing we found, and we knew it was there. We knew there was one leak. There's actually 2 on either side of that piece. They looked further out the rest of the 3,000 feet and couldn't find any evidence of any problems. So there's one at the very end. That's great. So this is
Just a backup.
This is just a backup, yes. So this is another look at their operation, and you can see here, those are the metal baskets that he uses at the end of his pipes to draw that water in. This is a great picture because the lake was so clear that day. He was out here almost a month. That's not his normal when he does this kind of work, but the lake was so rough and so turbid the first week and a half, he couldn't do anything. He could set up his pumps, but he couldn't even get these suction lines out of the lake.
It was supposed to be like a week project.
Yeah,
so.
no, it took a long time.
But you have to deal with the conditions of the lake.
That's just it. So primarily our cleaning, our final setup was Saturday. Sunday we were out there all day starting the cleaning. Monday was our part of that 24-hour clean. So that you work when the lake is allowing you to work. There's a little white dot on here. If you can see it, I'm kind of circling it. That's actually the repair that we did. Those are the white concrete bags that we put down there on that repair area. This other long line here, this dark line, that's our new intake, 1996 new intake, and that's armor rock over the top of that intake that now algae's grown on, so you can kind of see it. When the lake's clear, you can see that going out there.
A lot of capital.
It is. Oh, yeah.
Makes a living doing this?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Yeah, he's going up to Green Bay next. So he does a bunch of places. Lake Forest, he does once every 3 years, like clockwork, no matter what, because their intake clogged up again. He's going up to Green Bay to do an emergency, although he doesn't really want to. He did say he will never be on the lake in November again. There's a song about that. Yeah, no kidding. Two Rivers, he was doing again this year. He did it maybe 5 years ago. I know he did a presentation on it. It was really good. So yeah, he just travels around. He was just out in New Jersey before he came to us. He was doing some work out there. He's the only game in town.
Really?
He's the only,
So
yeah.
nationwide?
He's got a patent on. He generally works on the Great Lakes though. He's got a patent on his work, and part of what he was doing in New Jersey, somebody stole his operations, and he went and sued them and won. According to him, he won, is what he said. But yeah, he's kind of like the only game in town. So this is the plume of dirt, if you want to call it debris, that's coming out of the end of the intake. So 3,000 feet out into the lake. I've got a short video of that. Hey, yes. So you can kind of see, while the lake's moving, you can see that plume or that cloud. There's, at the very point at the bottom, there's one of our cones or one of our intake locations. There are 3 out there on this intake. It splits off into 3 cones, and I'll show you a picture of a cone here in a little bit. There's one that's in the middle of that plume that you can't see. There's one at the bottom, and obviously you can see and imagine that that's spreading out as it goes to the east. There's actually another cone in there that's blowing just as hard. You just can't really see it. So that's what came out. That's in 27 feet of water. This is a cone. So it really is just a reducer. It's 6 feet in diameter on top, and it goes down to 4 feet in diameter at the bottom. Then it converts into a 90-degree to go in the intake that's laid just below the lake bed. That's the 30-inch. The little knobs or posts that you see here are attachment points for the bar screen that goes on top. We removed that bar screen many years ago because we did have frazzle ice issues or freezing issues as a result of that. So we still have them. Don't have that. This cone, I know it's a little hard to see at the bottom, is a lake bed. The cone stands up about 5 feet tall, so it kind of gives you a frame of reference a little bit there. There is a bunch of algae and some zebra mussel or quagga mussel colonization of it. We see very little on the inside. We do see some, but we see very little, and we don't feed potassium permanganate at this intake when it's not running. So there's nothing to prohibit the zebra mussels from colonizing here. Now, I mentioned there was a bit of a problem. We do have 3 intakes, or 3 cones. One of them is completely packed full of mud, right up to the very top right here, packed full of mud. So he could not get that one cleaned out. The other 2 were flowing quite well. So he was able to get those. Again, a future thought might be when we do our dive inspection of this, set up to clean that out. There's 2 functional cones.
Draw on those.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, absolutely. We really don't need the other one. And we think by back flushing on ourselves, we think we'll be able to keep this line clean. We really don't know at this point. So we're going to start create an SOP for back flushing this in order to keep it clean so that we don't have to have northern divers come in and do it every 3 years. What we do know though now, I will say it started after 2 Rivers. DNR got very concerned about the discharge out of these. We saw that plume. What does that plume contain? Where are you depositing it? There were quite a few sections of the DNR that we had to get permits from in order to be able to do this work. We believe at this point that if we back flush it ourselves, that was kind of a routine thing. Yeah, we probably need a DNR permit for that as well. So we're going to have to work through, if we're doing this once every 2 months, once every 6 months, what exactly is the DNR interested in? Or is it only this super flush? So Northern Divers said they were putting 50,000 gallons a minute through this line. They weren't, the math doesn't support that, but they were over 20,000 gallons per minute for sure. Well more, it's about 30 MGD or so. Our peak day from our report here said 12 MGD, so it's quite a bit more than what we normally flow. this is, I'm gonna pause this a second. This is the diver in our shore well in the building. He's looking at their pipe that came up out of our 30-inch, and he's watching the water coming out of that line. So the line is cleaned. We just turned the line back on, the 30-inch on. The 60-inch is also on, feeding whatever pumps we have running at the time. I'm just gonna move this forward. You can kind of see the water coming out at the top of that intake line. You can now see it as he leans his head down there, the particles and that coming through there. It does look really pretty darn clean, and it's coming through well. The shocking part is coming right up now. You can see how much water is coming through that intake. It's 3 feet or so down from the surface of the water, and it is causing that water to look like it boils. You're running a lot of water through that line. So the concern is, normally we have that intake off because the water quality is not as good, and we pull in sand over there. He's got it on. We're pumping our normal pumping for that period of time, and we've got a ton of water coming in here, which means that the 60-inch doesn't allow enough water in. That's what it's suggesting. His diver went over to the 60-inch and said the water clarity on this 30-inch was way better than what was coming out of that 60-inch. They suggested that 60-inch is more than 50% clogged. We don't know. We've only had an investigation or review of the intake side. Right at the intake in the crib, that's the only place we've had divers go down. An ROV, we can't get an ROV to go the 7,500 feet, so we don't have any good inspection of that.
And that's on the main.
That's on the main one, yes. Now, what he suggested that he
So
saw.
in land world, this should have no water coming.
Yeah, it should have some. It should have a little bit, as they're both going to kind of balance themselves out, and they're both going to draw in some water to replace what we're pulling out with the pumps. This intake is a lot shorter, so it would be, from that regard, easier to come in here, but it's also a lot smaller in diameter. So we haven't run any of that math to determine what that balance ought to be yet. We can absolutely do that. I'm going to tell you, it's a whole lot less than this. That's for sure.
So the assumption was it was capped, it was not right.
Yeah, something. Yes, something's. It's disturbing what we see here. So we're doing investigation, a bit more of an investigation here. What he suggested is that the shore well itself, the volume of water in the shore well, is dropping because we can't replenish it fast enough when we're pumping heavy, and when we pump lighter, then that has a chance to recover. So we actually monitor that. We measure that, and we can trend it, and that we don't see that. We see it about a foot difference. So when we pump higher, we can see it jump down a bit. When we turn the pumps off, we can see it jump up a bit. We can't replicate what he felt. So we have more investigation to do. But if that 60-inch needs to be cleaned, that should be done sooner than later. And it's probably going to be more than double what this costs. This was $385,000. I would expect to be close to $1 million. He had 6 pumps on the shore. The 60-inch will be 12 pumps. Don't know quite where we're going to put it. The other wrinkle in that, Brian's well aware of it, is we used the area north of us, that revetment area where it's all just stone now. We use that as a laydown area.
Before it becomes a park.
Exactly, yes. So if we need to do this, we're doing this investigation hard, fast, and furious. If we determine this would be appropriate to do or needs to happen, we want to do that before that turns into a park and uses that laydown area.
Or doesn't that need to be in the planning, because this is not just a one-time
Hope it is.
thing? We were hoping that. Well,
so
okay, what year did the main?
1996, the new intake, we call it new, but that intake, the larger intake in 1996, it's never been dealt with at all, besides looking at the crib. So if you could get 30 years out of it, yeah. If he had to come in and clean it, we'd at least expect another 30 years, but now we've got that knowledge and we can flush it. However, our ability to flush a 60-inch is kind of miserable. We're coming out of a 12-inch line that feeds into the intake. That'll work okay on the 30. It's not going to work on the 60, I don't think. We've got a lot more to learn about it, a lot more people to talk about it for sure, but it starts with
You have
the
until before
investigation.
Thanksgiving, so you have another week to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a good place set up to investigate this.
Okay.
He did mention that the water quality coming out of the 60-inch was horrible. It was cloudy. It looked terrible compared to what he saw on their 30-inch. Now,
That was just cleaned.
exactly. And his job is to clean.
Yeah.
And so he's going to be proud of the work that he does. So I got all that. My other problem is the 60-inch. So this line, we bolted directly to it. He disconnected that line. So the intake comes out, turns up, and that's what you got. The intake on the 60-inch comes in just like this one would permanently. Comes in, hits a T, and goes down to almost the floor of the shore well. So it's dropping the water down there. If we're hitting any of that old carbon that we had down there, any other debris that's in that shore well, it's going to be mixing that up.
So prior to the cleaning, did they look at this? Did they look at what was coming in? Do we have video of prior to the
It was
cleaning?
plugged. We couldn't get anything.
It was
in.
totally plugged.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, all right.
Oh, but we didn't see that percolation.
Oh, sir, no. We actually have it valved off because we don't want that water
Okay.
coming in. But even if we opened it, yeah, it was plugged on the
Okay.
other end.
That's what I was wondering.
Sorry, yeah.
So where does that, the water out of the 60? Where's that being taken out of?
That's 7,500 feet out into the lake.
Where is how are we getting the sediment out of the system?
Oh, it sits.
Filtration house?
It sits in the. Most of it sits in the shore well, and then we clean that every now and then.
Oh. Okay.
We did that a couple
So
years.
somehow it settles out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of it gets pumped up to the plant, but most of it gets settled out right in the shore well there. And we cleaned that a couple of years ago, and I had a picture at one of the one of our operators, Juan, was standing next to the pile, and it's taller than him down there while they tried to get it out. We hired a contractor. Over 2 trips, they cleaned all that out of there. We went and looked at it a year later and did not see additional accumulation. So we felt that much of that pile came from the 30-inch back when we were running that many years ago. The 60-inch was always running clear for us, so we were content with it. Well, now this information suggests that may not be true.
Same shore well for both lines.
Yes, it is.
It's reasonable cost just to get rid of the sediment, apparently?
It wasn't horrible. I don't know that we'll get that price again, though. I lost this shirt on it. But that was probably 25 years since we cleaned it prior.
Really?
So, yeah. We go down and inspect it, but we never did anything with all the, up along the wall, it was just starting to pile up there, and we just didn't do anything with it. We just left it. It wasn't hurting anything. I think now our focus is a little different. Now we're a bit more concerned about it, especially with this.
How many of these kind of pipes are related? Is it relatively frequent or not? I mean, there's how many freshwater utilities
Well,
just on this side of the lake?
There's 19 surface water plants in Wisconsin. So each of them has 2 intakes. There's that, and then
At the power plant, and
Yep,
who else?
we
Got
energies
private
and
intakes?
private ones. Yep.
So this would not be solely an Oak Creek issue.
Oh no, correct.
Other people
yes.
would be experiencing this,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And bigger
we know.
pipes?
How big are yours? 48 and 42 are 2 main current ones, but then we also have a redundant one. But to calm your fears, Green Bay is dealing with the exact same thing. So actually, Green Bay reached out to me, and I put them in contact with Mike, knowing that they had this project on the horizon. So theirs are in a similar situation. They think it's more like 75% or more plugged. So it's not uncommon.
Yeah, they had a problem with their main intake. They went to the backup, and the water was terrible. Yeah, it was
Mike, do we check the quality of the water at the shoreline and the intake out 75?
No, we've not looked for or seen a difference in those 2 locations. We do know the 7,500 intake, the larger intake, is when the lake was studied, it's in much better water quality to begin with than the 30-inch. So we would expect that water to be better. This is a little different in that it's bringing in the sediment. So we're not We're not really sure. We may find out that there's nothing wrong with the 60-inch and this was just a bit of an anomaly. That absolutely could be the case. That would be my best scenario.
Thank you.
The lake is what? Isn't it a lot cleaner than it has been?
Yes. Much. But that
But that's, you know,
it brings its own problems.
yeah.
We're also wondering, not a lot of places, do you guys have particle counters? Okay.
They're not very effective. Probably are finding out too.
We love them.
Okay, all right.
We love, but not a lot of places have it. What we found this last 2 years is particle counts go up, but the turbidity doesn't. And so we've been shutting off a couple of our filters because that particle count gets ramped up there. Has it got something to do with that 60-inch being full or being partially plugged? Maybe. So we're just, because we can't figure out, and the people we've talked to, like I said, there aren't a lot of people that use particle counters on the lake, so it's not like we can call Cut a Hay or somebody else and say, hey, how are yours? We can't get that information. So we'll probably start pestering.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind is you just experienced an all-time low in Lake Michigan levels in 2011 and an all-time high in 2020. So those are different conditions than these lakes are currently or typically experiencing. So hopefully those extremes are what causes this and not the average day-to-day.
All kind of fun.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was a unique project for sure. That's all I have.
Anyone have any other questions on information? That's it. We can move to adjournment.
So Mike, I do want to put on the record, congratulations, and we wish you well in your retirement.
Hardly going to Wyoming or Montana, though. Are you? In December? Oh, there you go. Miles on. All right, Gail moves to adjourn.
Marshall, second.
Roll call.
Gail's aye.
Marshall, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Arnaki, aye?
Aye, aye.
There you go.